people? And today we're breaking down film on Austin Jackson, Miami Dolphins, right tackle. We got him back for the first game after being out pretty much the entire season, getting injured versus the Colts in week one. This is the type of value you can just see that Austin Jackson ends up bringing, specifically in the run game for Miami. Very valuable. We saw him, he's missed a lot of times with injury over the year. That's always been his biggest downside. Some inconsistencies in pass pro, but when it comes to this scheme, he really helps them out versatility wise and like the stuff they can do with run concepts. And he just brings a different level of physicality up front. Like he displaces people and also has the athleticism to be a mover out in space. Plays with that violence, which Miami really excels with, or really needed, and he excels with. So that is something that I think is very helpful. And Borum did a admirable job, I think, kind of filling in for him better than I think right tackles of the past of sort of like replacing Jackson's skill set. But it's just such a big help to get him out there. Still some rust to get off for sure. He's I think still recovering because it is a toe injury. Those things can be difficult to get back from. But yeah, Jackson, when he is out there, is a weapon for this team. It's just his problem has always been staying healthy. But when he is out there, I do like what I see from him on a consistent basis. Very valuable in that run game. So here, Dolphins running some pin pull. So they're pinning down with Jackson and actually pulling around both Brewer and Strange. And this block is so good for him. He has a natural leverage advantage. So the instant part of this block is actually pretty easy for him. This is a 3 technique. He has the quick leverage to get on him and pin him this way. But he does a great job straining and working his hips across with it, bringing his hips through on contact, and also really good job with his feet. You see how he's kind of shuffles sideways? How many times in this position have we seen our guy be in he gets a natural leverage position and they're in a good spot here, but then they lose it late? Look how long he sustains this, combining his hand placement with his hips, with his feet to get a good base and continuously hold on to this. Because if he doesn't maintain this block for this long, Achan's not going to be able to work this cutback this late. Like, look how much room there is. Because on the edge, it's all taken away, but Achan is able to cut this back because Jackson created so much space here for holding onto this block for so long that Achan can bend around these guys and then bounce it back on the outside path and pick up 9 yards on that play. So really high level rep and just something that he can do because he has the right combination of playing with power and athleticism that you want in this run game system, where he can be very scheme versatile with here working some gap scheme stuff with the pin pull, but also has the athleticism in the outside zone, the fold concepts as you'll see in here, very very solid here. Just straight up just getting after it, working a combo. So they're working basically this wind back toss, and what usually when you do this, they are kind of selling this it's outside zone. But the way they almost end up blocking is him down blocking like it's a gap scheme run. It's not a gap scheme. It is still zone, but it still ends up creating that down block type of feel. And look at him just attack. He wants to attack the low hip. And even though he doesn't get the low hip, he goes up in the shoulder. He's still able to create so much displacement there with Cole Strange that Ollie has so much room to work with. And this is just the movement I think the Dolphins have desperately missed. And he helps put that guy to the ground. He also gets a body on the linebacker a little bit. Ollie can carry his momentum. Love that finishing ability. I think that's something the Dolphins have missed. Jackson's a weird one. What do you do with his contract long term? Because they just did, I think, they just restructured him. So it is tough to move on from him. But then it's the injury history. I think you're trying to look to add a right tackle to this team next year. But if they do keep Jackson, it could give you a couple options. If someone went down, or maybe a right tackle that can also play guard, they can bump out if Jackson goes down, that type of thing. That's something to keep in mind. But lots of good plays, I think, to take away initially in this game. Another play where he just gets the natural leverage. They run crack toss, and he is just another pin guy. They basically go pin there, and he just holds it. Really good job bringing your hips through on contact. Because he's in a good position here. Bring the hips, boom. That's how you kind of get that explosiveness, that power. It's way harder to move through you. It's easier to sustain blocks when you bring those hips into the contact like that. And this is on the Achan touchdown run, and it's just a really, really well done block, because if Achan doesn't have this outside path, he has a really nice cutback lane to work on because Jackson pins the guy so well. So he can hit a cutback right here if it's needed and get a nice gain. But everyone else blocks it really well on the outside, so Achan's able to end up converting this into a touchdown. Jackson also plays a part in that. Very valuable in that run game aspect. Here's another one where you just see the pop, the shock in his hands. Get off the ball. good pad level fire into the guy. He doesn't always have perfect technique, specifically in pass pro. As you'll see, there were some pass pro plays I think he'd want back, but it wasn't like a disaster. And I would still say he's at least slightly better in Borum in that area. They have very similar strengths and weaknesses. But man, he just look what he does. This guy gets engaged and he just boom pushes this guy off the ball, and that's like a big defensive end, like 3-4 DN. That's a big guy, can play D tackle, and he's moving him off like that, putting him basically to the ground, on a short yardage because it's like 2nd and 2 early on in the game. And he's just firing off the ball. And for a first game back, sometimes it can take you a while to get adjusted to the speed and physicality, and he's right back in there with that stuff. And then also this type of thing, the fold blocks. So this is a concept. If you watch the Dolphins with what they like to do, and they ran this a couple times in this game, and it's not the exact concept they typically run. You'll see the other one is the exact where Brewer folds around and gets around the left guard, and then the right or the tackle will then get around the other guard. They only ever ran that with Patrick, Paul, and Brewer. So they only ever ran it to the right side, and Paul would go around Sav, Brewer would go around the right guard. They never ran it with Borum, so clearly this opens up some possibilities for them to let Austin Jackson do this because he's a little more athletic out in space. Here, he's peeking, like he might get to the safety, but the safety doesn't really get involved in the run fit. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go for a guy that's almost impossible for me to really get to help out Brewer because this guy tries to cut underneath, and he just helps put him to the ground. I love the violence, man. Push him to the ground right there. I mean, it doesn't end up affecting the play because Achan's getting, tackled near the line. But, like, if, Paul ends up doing his job a bit better, or if Achan reads this, plays this a little bit better, he's going to have a nice cutback to potentially work there with. It just doesn't end up working out in that specific scenario. But I do like that the concepts, and I think the play design just opens up even that much more with Jackson out there, because I think they trust that versatility a bit more. Constantly moving people out in 6-0 line. Like, I love his fire off the ball. Like, he fires off the ball. Good explosiveness, good in his stance. He gets engaged, and he just helps move people laterally. He gets a little bit of help there with Brunskill attacking the low hip, but he's also kind of helping with that torque, his placement, and he just moves them out. Really good combo in that work, and it just gives Achan so much more room to work with to pick up those quality games. He helps with the run game tremendously. And you go back to like last year is the perfect example. Like when Jackson wasn't on the field, like their yard per carry average dropped like I think it was over 1.5, which is an insane amount. I don't think the drop off wasn't going to be big this year because they actually had a right tackle that sort of was the same style of player as Jackson in Borum, and that helped out. And I also just think they're better all around blocking. Also the 6-0 lineman thing definitely helped. But now Jackson, that's why the run game I think is still even going to get even better because now they have Jackson back. Who knows if we'll ever get James Daniels back? If they got James Daniels back, I'm sure that would help. But even this game, this was Cole Strange's best game of his this season, which might have been a help from Jackson. Him and Jackson haven't even played together, and Strange went out there and had his best game. Like he's having good blocks. I might even do a Strange video this week because he played pretty well. But now you have Jackson, who's never played with the 6-0 lineman thing, and then Julian Hill is also back from injury, who's your best blocking tight end. He had 2 strong performances in a row. Like a lot of your best run blockers are back in action. Like I just see them getting better and better, more confident. And here gets to the second level. I feel good about him getting out to the second level pretty well. He throws that like drag hand back here to help Strange get his positioning. So he does that drag hand. Strange now gets in a good spot. And then he basically makes this linebacker choose because the Dolphins are trying to hit through here. Basically, Angle's the lead. He's going to kick out. Strange is going to capture there, and he's supposed to. Where this play ends up going is where it's designed to go. They cut off, and then this linebacker has a choice to just try to shoot downhill or get over the top of Jackson. But if he shoots downhill and everyone else does their job on this side, he's not going to make a play. Jackson is able to get at least a little bit of hand on him, but basically forces him to take himself out of the play. And if this linebacker really tries to play it over the top, Jackson's in the perfect position. So even though he doesn't really get a good block here, just his positioning alone, combined with everyone else doing their job, allows Achan to explode through there to get a nice gain. Makes a guy miss at the second level, all that good stuff. Jackson, they're comfortable with him, doing the pull stuff, not just the pinning on this crack toss. He gets a little bit slowed down here, like him and Ced kind of run into each other. So him and Cedric Wilson, he loses a bit of momentum, so he's not moving maybe perfectly, but he's still able to get hands-on in the situation. So even though things don't work out exactly how you want them to, he's still able to get out there, get hands on the linebacker. You want to see him sustain this a little bit more. But Achan is still able to work off the back of him perfectly and, get through, pick up a nice 8-yard gain. You'll take that all day long. Here's the other example of the fold block that I was talking about. This is the more example of what I was talking about. See how Brewer folds around here and then Jackson folds around? It's not your typical, like, out. If it's outside zone, he would, like, combo to here, climb, center would climb, and then, they combo to here, Jonah might climb, depending on where the linebackers are aligned. And then here, but now they fold around. Jackson has a tough responsibility to get to 20, who is basically lined up shade over the center to his side, like that far to get there. And, he shows some good movement skills. He doesn't quite get to Warner. But if Ollie plays this better, like this is more so an Ollie, because like I know he's trying to work off Brewer, but it gets tightened up. Once he does this, his eyes need to work down. If he gets down and works off of Jackson and makes like presses up and works behind Jackson, he's gonna make this linebacker stop and give Jackson actually a very good opportunity to get a clean block and would probably get actually a very nice gain. The only one who would really have a chance of tackling him would be this guy in pursuit. But by that time that happened, Ollie would still like have the momentum to at least pick up like 5-6 on the play. So just a missed opportunity there. I think a slight misread on the concept. Kind of you want to work your eyes down. They set the edge here. This gets tightened up. He peeks around. Once you see this guy peek across from Jonah, he's got to get his eyes here, and it would allow Jackson to get a much cleaner block. But he still gets, I would say, at least Jackson still gets hands on in a position where he probably shouldn't. But it's nice to see his movement skills out in space because him, Brewer, and Paul have real nice movement skills and have that physical aspect. This one is the miscom, him, they're working some, outside zone out here. Basically, the combo with Julian Hill, this guy just gets wide. I think this motion widens Jordan a little bit more, and Jackson thinks like he's going to work a combo here and then climb, but Jordan gets super wide, so now Jackson's just a little bit late getting up to the shooting linebacker, just having that miscommunication, still working to his way back. But that was really the only miscommunication in the game from him, like really the only like noticeable one, and I think that's fine in like his first game back when you've missed the entire season. Pass pro, I wouldn't say he was great or anything, but not like any worse than usual. Like right here, not great technique, but like holding his own at the point of attack. Gets pushed back a little bit, able to at least show some core strength and body control to recover right there, get back in position, which is not a bad rep. He had one really rough one. The reason I trust him more than Borum because I think when he jump sets is where they're both most comfortable, but I think Jackson is just more consistent when jump setting, not losing right away. Like they both kind of lean and stuff like that, but Jackson will help control that longer. He gets out there quicker. He's a better first step in those spots, so that will help out in like jump setting situations, which the Dolphins love to do in pass protection. And this was like the one rep like he really lost to Cam Jordan. Just oversets a little bit, kind of misses that first punch and gives up that armpit, and now he just gets pushed back. Doesn't never have the strongest anchor. He was always more of a move forward type of player. But this scheme and system has helped protect him from that over these past few seasons. Doesn't end up mattering from a result standpoint because it's actually probably to his best throw of the day on that one where he gets Jackson gets like knocked into him and to actually threw a dime on that. So that was kind of funny that Jackson's worst play was probably to his best play, but sometimes that's how it ends up playing out. But yeah, I like what AJ brings from a run blocking perspective. The injury stuff is super frustrating, but just straight going over the film, Jackson has been a run game weapon for them for quite a while. Like since McDaniel's been here, he's been a run game weapon and has been very valuable. So I don't know what the future holds because I think it's very difficult to move off his contract. So we'll see what they can work any magic with that. They move off of him. Maybe they decide to keep him. I do think if they keep him, they should still try to add a right tackle. Either someone that could be a true starter, like draft one early, or you need to have another sort of Larry Borum type situation where it's a guy who can be serviceable within your scheme. So like if McDaniel's still the coach, bring back someone that, at least matches Jackson's skill set. Cause like Kendall Lamb was never a bad player, but Kendall Lamb and Austin Jackson couldn't have been more different. And there was a big reason like that, why the run games saw a big fall off while it hasn't been as big of an issue this year. And there's also other factors that play into that, like the 6 alignment thing. And then, make better run game design, more of a commitment to it. Also, I think Achan's just playing at a higher level in terms of like vision and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, like what I saw from Jackson. Let me know who you guys else want to see this week. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.